use them in Flutter and how it can get really well, you know, you can build amazing apps and things like that. So, what my plan today is, for the first 1 hour, I'm going to complete the calculator app in front of you, and I'm going to show you how APIs are work, and I'll tell you why APIs are important after I implement the API application. And in the second hour of the meeting, I'm totally going to talk about the roadmap and things like that, like how you can get better in app development. Even if it is web development, don't worry, I'll talk about that too. But overall, I'll give you a whole roadmap kind of thing in how to basically ace any interviews and things like that. I'll share my CV and things like that, and we'll talk about more. We'll have an interactive session after that, and let's see where it goes after that. Okay, so everyone, just give me a like text wala confirmation. Am I audible or not? And I'll keep it in mind that I'll speak in Hindi and English. I won't use Bengali. Don't worry. Okay. So, mm, let me share my screen. Yeah, Robul, I remember. Don't worry. Okay. Thank you, Ritam, for confirming. Okay. Is my screen visible? Can
Yes.
anyone? Okay, okay. Chalega. Okay. Let's see where we were the last day. Uh, the first thing that I would do is I would open the UI that we were doing. Yep, this was the UI. Now let's see where I kept that project. Okay, just give me a moment, guys. Work my projects. Okay. Oh, I was clearing my laptop recently. Just give me a moment. I'll import the project from GitHub only. That would be much easier. So, uh, mm, mm, okay. So, my repositories. Click. Okay. Okay. Got the app. All right. Just a moment, guys.
Can I ask something, please?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Go on ahead.
What ad block do you use?
Ad block. I don't use ad block. Are you asking that for YouTube?
Yes, exactly.
मैं प्र, मैं प्रीमियम यूज करता हूँ.
गलत इंसान से पूछ लिया. But any suggestions?
Nah, they have made a small change in the algorithm as well, right? कि using any kind of ad blocks actually makes your account block from their platform. So इसलिए थोड़ा सा
That
तो
did
अभी.
happen once. So I
Yep.
tried using, first I was using Adblock, then I tried using uOrigin, uBlock Origin, but it still is not working. So
You can use the Brave browser. It actually helps to watch YouTube videos over there as well. Brave still works fine. Yep, exactly. Navanil said that already.
okay.
Okay, so let's have a quick recap what we were doing last day. So last day, we guys were building this UI. We actually built the complete UI. So we talked about Dart, and we talked about how we can add, Flutter elements, which we know as widgets, stateful widgets, stateless widgets, and things like that inside our Flutter application. Now, what we are going to do today is we added all the widgets in our Flutter application. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to use Dart and implement logic inside of our code. Then we are going to use that particular logic in those widgets so that we can ultimately, get to a proper work functioning calculator. Okay. After that, after building this calculator, I'm going to show you guys on how to basically build, you know, fetch data from the internet so that you can make certain applications like weather apps and things like that, weather apps, news apps, and things like that, which are a huge, plus points in your uh, resume. Okay, so the Flutter app is up and running. Let's hope that the UI is still there. Yep, it is still there. Uh, and you would remember that if we pressed on the buttons, the numbers would be adding over there. Okay, so now if we come to a proper analysis once again on what we have to do with all the buttons which are over here on the side. Okay, so let's say the first thing is, when you get to the concept of a calculator, you would know that inside a calculator, uh, what we do is we make operations on two numbers, right? So the first kind of operation that we do is known as the first number on which we do the operation is known as operand one. The second number is called as operand two. And in between them is an operator. That operator is multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction, right? So we are going to start writing a logic just before the build function. And if you guys remember, I told you guys that build function is a function जिसके अंदर we have to write all the widgets and all the Flutter widget elements, okay, which will get rendered into the screen. Everything that you write inside the build function will get rendered into uh, the application screen. Okay. So what we're going to do is first we have our output as the number controller, which is already being handled over here in the text editing output. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make our first operand. Okay. Now, we are going to make that operand a double, which you might know is a floating point integer or a decimal number in different coding languages. Okay. So let's make the first operand name as OP1. Okay. Let's
Are you
initialize
there?
its value.
Hey,
Holy shit. Am I not?
no.
Uh, my bad, my bad. Okay, I'll do it over here. I don't know why it went off. Okay. Can you guys see it now?
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. Uh, okay. So first things first, you guys can see the UI now, right? So I just told you guys how there are two kind of operands in a calculator. So now we are making the first operand. Uh, just above this, we are making, the build. just above the build function, we are creating all the logic and things like that. So I name the first operand as OP1. Let's name the second operand as OP2. We're going to keep them as double only, and then don't worry about the operator. We are going to handle that later on. Okay. So now let's build a function. Okay. So I don't want to make the whole file very clustered right now. So what I would do is I would go inside lib. I would try to make the whole file, a whole codings, the whole project a little bit well structured so that it is easier for other developers to access everything, not just only in one file, but in different files. This is a very good practice that you guys should also follow, because this is also one of the main things that while giving a technical interview, the company is going to see is that how you are structuring your code. Okay, after the first 1 hour session, I'm going to show you guys how we use proper coding structure in our company. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create, let's say, a folder called function over here. Not function, my bad. Let's name it functions. We can make one or more functions over here. So let's say the first function that we are going to make is button pressed function. Okay. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to make it a void function only for the time being. Not void. I want to return a string, because ultimately in the text editing control over here, the numbers that you are seeing, they are being outputted as a string only. We all of us know that we are seeing numbers over there, but those numbers are actually concatenated in a string, because any application that you see across the world, okay, across any frameworks, everything that you are seeing, I mean, not the widgets, I mean by the text, everything comes out as an output only. We are going to deal with the doubles and things. Don't worry about that inside the function only, but at the end, ultimately, we are going to write a string. So what we first do is we have we'll be creating the function called button pressed over here, where we are going to input the first operand which we have created. We are going to input the second operand which we have created. We are going to add the text editing controller which we have created. Okay, so let's name it number controller only, number controller. And at the end, we are going to also add the operator which we are going to handle. And is there anything that I'm missing? No. These are the things that we are going to add. Okay. Another thing is, for the time being, let's make this as an empty function for the time being. Why am I doing it? Is there's a practice we do with this coding structure as well, is we build the function first in the main file only. After that, when the function is working properly, then you export that function in this particular thing. By export, I just mean cut and paste the whole function over here, so that you can still be comfortable with the way you are coding, and also practice the coding structure that the company or the place where you're getting hired, where you're coding, uh, is also gets fulfilled. Okay, so let's make the same thing again over here, but over here right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a void function for the time being. Okay, later on I'm going to change it to string. You might have questions why I made it string over here and why am I making it void over here, but you'll get to know it later on. Okay, you'll understand why I'm doing this. Okay, and for the time being, let's say I'm only going to input the button text. That is, on the press of a button, I'm going to put in a text over here. So I have a pretty good knowledge ki what are the things that I might need in this function. That's why I put everything over here, but I might actually not need all of them. But so to tackle that confusion, we first have to build the function over here. That's why now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the button text as the parameter, like what kind of button I'm putting, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do right now is if I'm going to check with let's say I won't use an if else. I'm going to use a switch element over here because there are going to be lots and lots of if else over here. All right. So I'm going to put a switch case on the button text. Then what I'm going to do is for the first case being C. Okay. Now C, as you know, is the first button over here. So for the first case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the number controller ka text as totally empty. Okay. And just like the last day, which I told you that we have to put everything inside a set state if we want to change the state of a particular stateful widget, right? Now, since this whole page is inside the calculator page is made as a stateful widget, we're going to use a set state over here. So inside the set state, what we are going to do is we are going to put the number controller text as an empty string. And what we are going to do is we are going to make the first operand as 0 and the second operand as 0 as well. Now let's see, let's put this particular function in its correct place right now. So we know we have to put it inside the calculator button C over here. Okay. If you guys have any questions, you guys can actually ask. My chat is opened up in a device beside me. I'll be able to see it. Okay. Like in between anywhere if you guys aren't able to understand something. All right. So I'm going to put button pressed over here and I'm going to put C. All right. Now you can see I've put capital C over here. Be very careful with lowercase and uppercase because everything is case sensitive in this coding language. It's not like MySQL or SQL. Okay. So I've put the function over here. Now let's see what happens when we press C. You can see that it is working. Voila. Okay. So we're like closer to a completely functional app. Now, the next thing which I think I should handle is what would happen if I press on, plus minus negative plus minus multiplication and division. All right. So let's focus on that thing. So let's say the case is division. No, let's start with addition, the easiest one. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the I'm going to take in the input of the first operator. Yes. Now, as I'm pressing on the plus thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the number controller ka text as empty. Why am I making it empty? Because after I press plus, I want to input the second operand so that I can actually perform the addition operation between the two numbers, between the two operands. That's why I'm making that like just like that. Okay. After that, I don't need anything else to be done. Similarly, if you would actually think properly enough, the same thing is happening in all of the things. One another thing that I require over here is I would like to save the operator which I'm using in a certain string. Okay. So let's say I'm going to name that string as operator. Okay, so now let's say, so when I'm pressing C as well, I want the operator to get erased as well from the calculator. Okay, you'll understand why I put the operator as an empty string over there later on. Okay, so now let's put the operator over here as plus. Why am I not calculating the addition over here right away? Because I need to give the user the time to input the second operand. Okay, so the first case is done. हाँ खुशी बोलो ना.
मुझे ना एक्चुअली ये नंबर कंट्रोलर डॉट टेक्स्ट वाला समझ में नहीं आया, एक बार और बता सकते हैं?
Yep, sure. So, uh, okay. First things first. Over here, मैं जब number input कर रहा हूँ, you can see that the number is getting inputted at this place, right, in the UI. Now that is being controlled by a widget which we know as text field. Okay, where we basically input numbers. All right. Now, to keep a track of the value or the text inside the text field, we use a data type called controller, text editing controller to be precise. Okay. Now that text editing controller you can see is declared over here, which is known as number controller. Or a controller is not always a string, but we want to extract the value the string value from that controller. That's where the text attribute of that controller comes into place. Okay, that's why when I want to access the string value of the controller, then we use text. You clear?
A little bit confused, like about the string and controller still.
Okay, okay, okay. So don't worry, I'm keeping this in mind. ओके, मैं एक बार नीचे आके इधर दिखा देता हूँ। ये देखो क्या होता है। If it would have been a normal string, let's say A, okay, something like this, or I think it would be better if I do it in Dart pad. Yep. Okay. So if you would see इधर में, let's make a string A which has some text in it. Not text, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. Now let's make a text editing controller called number controller, just like the one I made it. Okay, inside the app. Let's make it like this, text editing controller. And a text editing controller always has an attribute called text, inside which the app has automatically put this 999 value. Okay. I would have to import a library for using that. That is material. Yep. Okay. Now, Khushi, you can see that there are two different variables over here, right? One is called A and one is called number controller. All right. Now we are using number controller का data type as text editing controller. Okay. अब टेक्स्ट एडिटिंग कंट्रोलर एक ऐसा डेटा टाइप है जो टेक्स्ट फील्ड ही लेता है, टेक्स्ट फील्ड नॉर्मल स्ट्रिंग कभी नहीं लेता, ठीक है, बिकॉज फ्लटर इज मेड लाइक दैट ओनली. व्हाई आई विल जस्ट एक्सप्लेन इट टू यू राइट अवे. अरे यार क्या हो गया. हाँ, ओके. So now I would print the first variable, which is this normal string. Then I would print the number controller which I made, which is a text editing controller. Okay. Now if I run this, you're going to see that there are going to be two different types of things over there inside the output. Just give it a moment to run. Mm, let me do one thing again. Let's make both the text as 999. I think there is some issue running it over here. Anyway, I can do
So
another
here, text
thing.
editing controller is a data type
Yeah, text
that
editing
accepts
controller is a
the
data type
text.
that accepts a text, and it is basically a data type made in such a way which is only acceptable by text fields. And text field का मतलब क्या है, देखो ये ऊपर ये दिख रहे हो जिधर मैं अपना URL लिख रहा हूँ, this is a text
हाँ
field as well. A text
हाँ
field is basically a widget in web development and app development components like UI components, which helps a user to take input of whatever prompt he or she has to, tell the website or the app.
हाँ
ठीक
हाँ
है.
हाँ.
अब उसके लिए we use, for the Flutter apps, we use this variable called text editing controller.
Text
Now
editing
I'll do one
controller.
thing. Yeah. Now I'll do one thing, that is on button press का जो C था, I'll comment that out for the time being. What I'll do is I'll print the same text editing controller over here. Okay. Now अभी तुम देखोगे कि over here output में क्या आएगा. When I press C, you can see that something like this has come up. Okay. Where did my thing go? Yep. Something like this came up. Now you can understand कि ये तो भाई एक string नहीं है. इसके अंदर बहुत, there are lots of confusing things inside the text. Now एक text editing controller हमें पूरा coding language में बोल देता है कि इसमें भाई क्या क्या चीज है, क्या क्या नहीं है. So इसके अंदर there is a parameter called text. इसलिए जब हम इधर नंबर कंट्रोलर डॉट टेक्स्ट करते हैं, हम टेक्स्ट एडिटिंग कंट्रोलर के अंदर जो टेक्स्ट हमने प्रॉम्प्ट दिया है, वी कैन एक्सेस दैट. Why we use text editing controller in text fields is because there are certain other attributes which might get a little bit advanced for you right now, but is very helpful when you're handling, text in different widgets as well. Okay. थोड़ा सा क्लियर हुआ?
हाँ समझ आ गया.
Okay, ठीक है. So let's go. So we were building what? We were building the operations for the different kinds of operators. So over here we have four different, actually five different operators. The modulator, the division, multiplication, minus, plus, and another one which is very important is equal to. Okay, so for this session, only going to cover division, multiplication, minus, and plus. The modulator and plus minus, you can actually try to figure it out on your own because सब बोल दूंगा तो बहुत easy हो जाएगा. All right, it will be kind of like a small quiz kind of thing which I'm going to do at the end of this coding session so that I can understand that what you guys have understood so far. ठीक है, डरने का कुछ नहीं है. लाइक अगर समझ भी ना आए, अगर बोल भी नहीं पाओगे, इट्स गोइंग टू बी एब्सोल्युटली फाइन. दिस इज जस्ट अ स्मॉल वर्कशॉप. ओके, सो प्लस के लिए आई एम सेटिंग द ऑपरेटर स्ट्रिंग व्हिच आई हैव मेड ओवर हियर इज प्लस. Similarly for minus it will be minus. For multiplication I'm going to make it the actual multiplication wala sign, and for division it's always this. Okay, so I've handled these four operators for the time being. Next case is the equal to. Okay, now if you think about it hard enough, equal to कब होता है? I mean equal to जब होता है तब क्या होता है? We take the first operand, we put the operator in between, then we take the last second operand, then we do the whole operation in once. Okay, so equal to में we are going to put a few if else. Okay, so if we are going to check, if we are always going to check on the operator only. If the operator is plus, what we are going to do is we are going to make an output called double output. Okay. We're going to make an output. We're going to take the first operand, we're going to add it to the second operand, and then what we are going to do is we want to output the answer. That's why what we are going to do again is we're going to put that output in the number controller. We're going to use the number controller dot text attribute, and we are going to put the output as a string inside there. It might get a little bit confusing, but let me complete the whole if like this situation, if else wala situation, and then you'll be able to understand it more properly. Okay, so second वाला था minus, इसके लिए minus होगा, and there's going to be a multiplication. Okay, we're going to multiply, and नहीं तो मैं देखूंगा इसमें division है कि नहीं. So I'm going to divide the first operand with the second operand. Now output आ गया है. ठीक है, output आने से ही कुछ नहीं होगा. मैं equal to दबा दिया, output आ गया. फिर आउटपुट आने के बाद तो मुझे सी दबाना पड़ेगा. अगर मैं सी नहीं दबा के, what I'm doing is I'm going to start inputting another character as well. So for that, what we need to do is we need to make the operands as empty once again, because we're not using the operand anymore after we're using the equal to operator, because they have already done the operation and it is, and that thing is run. मैं इधर code repetitive किया, which you guys might have a small kind of understanding that it is a very bad practice. Code repetition कभी मत करना ज़्यादा. Okay, so now it is done. Now let's test the whole thing out properly. ठीक है, let's put 5. ठीक है, 5 मैंने add किया. Now what happens is, also I think I'm missing another thing. One of the main things, inside the whole ये case वाला thing. I have actually missed out the numbers only. कि numbers में on press होने से क्या होगा. Numbers में on press होने में तो मैं अभी print out करवा दे रहा हूँ. ठीक है, वो होने दो. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is I have to make the operands a number as well. So the number controller is getting all the number. Let's think about it over here a little bit. When I press the plus, number controller तो empty हो जाएगा. But वो होने के पहले I have to make sure that the first operand gets its number properly. So what I would have to do, I would parse the, I would explain this code in a bit, just a moment. I would parse whatever number I am inputting over there inside the operand one. Now, you might think, why am I using the double dot parse over here, this function? Okay. So whatever number is there inside the number controller that you are seeing right now, you can see that it is 5. तो so अगर मैं अभी number controller dot text को print करवाऊंगा, the thing that is going to get printed out is 5, but inside a string. We cannot do any kind of mathematical operations on a string. We have to convert it either to an int or to a double. Since we have made the operands as double, that's why what I'm doing is I'm converting that number from a string to a double. उसके लिए we have to use this particular function. Okay, so ये सब में ही जाएगा, not only in uh, plus, also on the other operators as well. So सब operators में मैंने कर दिया. Now जब plus हो रहा है, प्लस होने में क्या हो रहा है, ऑपरेंड 1 एंड ऑपरेंड 2 में चेंज हो जाएगा. So the first thing is, before the operation is being carried out, I also have to set state of the second operator as well. नहीं तो ऑपरेशन होगा ही नहीं. So इधर जो second operand है, I would put the new number.text over here, but you can see that there is an error. That error is saying कि मैं string के ऊपर mathematical operation नहीं कर पाऊंगा, just like the thing which I told you guys right now. So I'm going to pass the whole thing over here. After that, of course, I'm clearing everything out, so you don't need to worry about that. I have to clear out the operator as well. Now let's start working on the whole thing once again. So I'm going to hot restart the app. The app is fully restarted right now. So now let's try to, oh, sorry, my bad once again. I have to put this in all the other parts as well. नहीं तो ये function सब खाली रहेगा. So इधर में there is this वाला button press वाला function रहेगा. Number 5, 6, 7 में already number controller text में जा रहा है. So we only have to put this in the operator wala buttons. Over here, I'm going to put in X. All right. Yep, that's the one. Now inside negative, जो minus है, इसमें मैं minus डालूंगा. Inside the plus button, I'm going to put the plus operator. And inside the equal to button, I'm going to put the equal to operator. I think we have put everything in its place properly. Now let's start working on it. Okay. So मैंने 5 डाला इधर. Now if I press on plus, yep, it is working properly. Because plus में क्या हुआ अभी देखो. As soon as I pressed on plus, operand 1 में वो 5 store हो गया. The number controller dot text empty हो गया. You can see that there is no number over here right now. And we have saved the operator as plus. Okay. Now what we have to do is we have to input the second operand. So let's say we'll be putting 86. All right. So now I've inputted 86. Now I'm going to press on equal to. What is going to happen in equal to? The first thing is the second operand will get the value of 86. So there we have our two operands. The first operand has the value of 5 stored inside the app. Second has 86 inside the app. And the main operator is set as plus inside the application. So it's going to follow this if, and it's going to calculate the first the addition wala operation, and it's going to give us an output of, I guess, 91. Let's see. There you are. There we are. Like, itna easily, I am pretty sure Android mein, Kotlin mein, you won't be able to make a calculator app this fast. So if I combine the last days and today's time like this, you have made an iOS looking, you will be able to make an iOS looking calculator within 2 hours with Flutter very easily. ठीक है. अभी अगर you would have used Android and Kotlin में तुम्हें XML में सब properly align करना पड़ेगा and things like that, which sometimes gets a little bit monotonous as well. So don't worry, I will show you another one. Multiplication भी काम कर रहा है. Now if I want to do 80 divided by 5, I can see that 16 is coming. What have we missed? Okay, let's do 6 minus 10. And there you can see minus 4. And as we press on C, it is done. So there we have it. Our whole like thing. I know I've missed out three different buttons over here. One is to make a number negative. One is the modulator. It's not actually a modulator. It's actually the percentage button, uh, which I'm not going to cover right now. And the last one is decimal. Okay, which is actually basically putting a decimal number after after each operand as well. So this
I
is
was
the
actually
small calc.
wondering what that plus minus button was because like I had no idea. Android calculator में ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है.
होता है. I think there
होता है.
is. Let me check in my calculator. हाँ, इसमें है. You can see that there is a plus minus.
वो तो
But
iOS का है आपका.
हाँ, Android में भी होगा because I have seen this button in different applications as well. Maybe, I don't know. Not sure about it.
नहीं इसमें
Anyway,
इसी से काम चला देते हैं ये लोग काम चोर है.
होगा,
They
I
don't use
guess.
extra.
Maybe not. Okay. So let's get back into the meat. Okay. So, guys, I have covered the basics. I would say the basics of how to properly integrate logic with UI inside the same file, so that you'll be able to make all the applications very easily. I know मैं इधर अभी वो फंक्शन इसी फाइल के अंदर बनाया हूँ. I will show you how we make files in different files like this. मैं अभी दिखा दे रहा हूँ. So the thing is, for that thing to be done, you guys would need to learn a little bit of state management, which I might not be able to cover because state management is a huge thing. Okay. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about how different kind of coding structures we follow in our company. I follow in my company, like how we create different files, different folders, and things like that. After that, I'm going to show you a little bit, a small application on how to use APIs. Okay, so let's stop the application over here. So let me open up a certain application which I have been coding inside our company right now. Okay, so if I let me see. Okay, first things first, I'm going to push this code inside GitHub. So if you guys want to have look at the code, you guys can just basically clone the whole project. Unable to access. Okay,
भैया गिटहब
I
की बात
actually
चल
forked
रही है
your
तो
repository.
just a moment. I can't hear anything.
हाँ जी भैया.
हाँ 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 हाँ, यस बोलो.
भैया गिटहब की बात चल रही है तो एक बात पूछ लो. मतलब क्या
हम्म
होता है कि जब हम github.com पे जब एक रिपोजिटरी बनाते हैं और उसमें रीडमी ऐड करते हैं तो मास्टर ब्रांच ऑटोमेटिकली सिलेक्ट हो जाए वहाँ पे. और
हम्म
जब हम लोकली करते हैं तो वो होता है मेन पे. जब हम क्या करते हैं अपलोड करते हैं तो दोनों डिफरेंट तरह के हो जाते हैं. तो उस प्रॉब्लम को कैसे रिजॉल्व करते हैं? मतलब मैं क्या करता हूँ, बाद में ब्रांच को मर्ज कर देता हूँ और या
हम्म.
एक ब्रांच को डिलीट कर देता हूँ. मैं चाहता हूँ कि दोनों एक ही ऑटोमेटिकली मर्ज हो जाए मेरी तरफ से भेजते वक्त.
तो मैं बोलता हूँ ये देखो. मैं ये वाला पुश करके आई विल शो यू. जस्ट अ मोमेंट. अभी देखो what will happen is, you guys can see my terminal, right?
हाँ
Ruben,
जी भैया. हाँ जी भैया.
टर्मिनल देख पा रहे हो, राइट?
हाँ जी. हाँ जी.
हाँ ठीक है. सो लेट्स से मैंने अभी एक फोल्डर बनाया. ओके, लेट्स नेम दैट फोल्डर एज टेस्ट. ओके, सो अभी मैं टेस्ट वाला फोल्डर के अंदर गया. ठीक है, अब मैं टेस्ट फोल्डर में क्या करूंगा, मैं गेट इनिट करूंगा. बराबर.
हाँ जी.
ठीक है। अब मैं गिटहब में गया, गिटहब में मैं जाके मैं अगर अभी एक नया रिपोजिटरी बनाता हूँ जिसका नाम है टेस्ट, ठीक है, इसको पब्लिक बनाता हूँ एंड इसके अंदर मैं रीडमी फाइल भी दे देता हूँ, ऑलराइट।
हाँ जी,
फिर मैं
हाँ जी,
क्रिएट रिपोजिटरी कर देता हूँ, ओके। अभी देख पाओगे कि इसके अंदर मेन है, ऑलराइट। अभी क्या
हाँ
है,
जी,
यू हैव टू फॉलो दी स्टेप्स वेरी केयरफुली, ठीक है। दैट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग इज, पहले तो लेट मी जस्ट मेक अ स्मॉल txt फाइल ओवर हियर, test.txt, ठीक है। अभी इसके अंदर एक फाइल है, अब मैं ये txt फाइल को इधर लाना चाहता हूँ, ओके, पुश करना चाहता हूँ इन द रिमोट रिपोजिटरी। व्हाट यू वुड नीड टू डू फर्स्ट इज, पहले ऐड करना पड़ता है, फिर कमिट करना पड़ता है, यू नो, टेस्ट कमिट, ओके।
हाँ
अभी
जी,
क्या करना पड़ता है, जब नया रिपोजिटरी हम बनाते हैं तब हमें वी हैव टू कनेक्ट द लोकल रिपोजिटरी टू द रिमोट रिपोजिटरी। उसके लिए है गिट रिमोट एड ओरिजिन, फिर इधर ऊपर में ये जो चीज रहता है इसको हम कॉपी करके इधर पेस्ट करके जस्ट लास्ट में डॉट गेट ऐड कर देते हैं। अगर वो ऐड हुआ है कि नहीं, इफ यू वांट टू चेक दैट, यू यूज अ कमांड कॉल्ड git remote space -v, जिससे तुम्हें पता चल जाएगा कि हाँ प्रॉपरली आ गया। अभी फर्स्ट पुश में आई नो यू व्हाट यू सी इज, तुम जब उधर देखोगे उधर लिखा रहता है गिट पुश -u origin master, राइट। बट इधर देखो देयर इज ऑलरेडी अ ब्रांच कॉल्ड मेन, तो मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं ऐसे लिख दूंगा गिट पुश u origin main। My bad, I have to pull the things over here, git pull. So one thing you tell me, Robul, do you use GitHub desktop or do you use GitHub का terminal?
गिटहब बेस यूज करता हूँ मैं भैया।
अच्छा, GitHub desktop में एक्चुअली इस सब का ऑपरेशंस ऑलरेडी रहता है, बट यू वुड हैव टू नेम योर ओन ब्रांच एज मेन ओनली फर्स्ट, नहीं तो नहीं होगा, ओके। सो
हाँ जी,
what you would have to do is you have to pull everything from main. My bad. There are lots and lots of commands that you can use from here, GitHub में. So one second, I have to push the thing over here. My bad. Yep. Okay. Git pull. So क्या होता है? I would tell you, the first thing is when we make any repositories, when we make any remote repositories, we always try to tend to remove the README, because I'll tell you one reason is, जब भी first में तुम README add करोगे, the file will actually add the README file and it won't show you any instructions on how to add the whole thing inside your, how to basically, you know, connect your local repository to your remote repository. That's why what we tend to do is we remove the README from the beginning only, and then what we do is, देखो अभी इसमें merge का problem आ जाता है, ठीक है, इसलिए what we tend to do is, you while creating a new repository, do not add a readme file. Rather, what we generally do is we use a markdown editor, okay, जैसे कि stack edit है, stack edit ही हम कंपनी में ज्यादा तो लोग यूज करते हैं, ठीक है। Stack editor, one second, yep, over here. Stack editor में क्या है is that you can basically write everything in a markdown file. जैसे कि you know readme file markdown में you have to write it in the markdown language, which is basically like a hypertext, you know, language. So over there तुम वो ऐसे करके लिखो, फिर you copy the whole thing from here, and then what you do is you put it inside the uh, you know, the whatever readme file you have created over there. ओके, सो इसलिए हम क्या करते हैं, अभी मैं अगर अभी व्हाट वी यूजुअली डू इज, लेट्स से वी मेक अनदर रिपोजिटरी कॉल्ड test1, फिर इसके अंदर ऑलरेडी मेन बना रहेगा, इधर सब प्रॉपरली आ जाएगा, क्या क्या करना है नहीं करना है। फिर इधर हम डायरेक्टली रीडमी फाइल ऐड कर देते हैं, देन उसके अंदर यू पुट ऑल द मार्कडाउन टेक्स्ट। दैट वुड बी द easiest way possible. Okay, do not try to add the readme file in the beginning. You can already see that I'm already facing so many issues when I add it, because I never do that. I never follow that path. क्योंकि क्या होता है, let's say if you do not use GitHub desktop, there is always going to be a merge problem, अगर तुम टर्मिनल यूज करने जाओगे। अभी क्या हुआ, मैं लोकल में जो बनाया, इफ यू कैन सी, मैं अभी अगर गिट ब्रांच करूंगा, आई एम इन मेन, बट व्हेन आई गो टू पुश इट, एक प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है विच इज कॉल्ड, विच वी बेसिकली नो एज, अगर तुम इधर देखोगे, is rebase. Rebase is a totally different concept from push and pull. Okay, क्या होता है, तुम्हारे लोकल ब्रांच में देर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड, देर इज अ फाइल मिसिंग, एंड रिमोट में देर इज अ फाइल मिसिंग। इधर क्या हुआ, रिमोट में देर इज द रीडमी डॉट एमडी फाइल जो लोकल में मिसिंग है, और इधर लोकल में क्या है, txt फाइल विच इज मिसिंग इन द रिमोट रिपोजिटरी। दैट्स व्हाई द rebase वाला थिंग हैज कम फॉरवर्ड। हैव यू एवर फेस्ड एनी rebase प्रॉब्लम? बिकॉज अगर rebase प्रॉब्लम कभी भी आता है, यू वुड अंडरस्टैंड कि सेम branches का नेम आ गया है, इसलिए there has been some problems like this. Anyway, I'm not going to dive into this thing right now because I'm facing the problem as well right now. It might take more time. But anyway, Rupal, I hope I'm able to थोड़ा सा कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर कर पाया
हाँ
हो
जी
तुम्हारा।
भैया, हाँ जी भैया।
चलेगा चलेगा,
भैया
ओके।
ये
सो
प्रॉब्लम जब हम ओपन सोर्स कंट्रीब्यूट करने जाते हैं तो क्या ये एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है क्या करते वक्त?
yep, that's the biggest problem in open source contribution. Properly pull request मारना चाहिए, properly you have to create branches and things like that. Okay.
अच्छा, मैं ये पूछना चाह रही थी, जैसे मैंने आपका फोर्क किया रिपॉज़िटरी, तो आपने अभी जो भी मतलब अपडेट किया, जो कोड आप आगे लिख रहे थे, वो अपने आप चला जाएगा या फिर क्या होगा?
मैं जब push करता हूँ, like what happens is when you, the concept is like this, कि let's say you have forked my repository, ठीक है, मेरा repository का एक छोटा सा क्लोन तुम्हारा प्रोफाइल में it will get created. Now whenever I do something with my repository, whenever I add something in the repository, push something in the repository, make branches in my repository, what a forked branch can do is, that is the best thing about it, is it can listen to the changes of that main repository which is in my profile. So तुम्हारे पास जो forked repository है, तुम उसको सिर्फ जाके बोल दो कि पुल द चेंजेस। ओके, जब भी वो पुल चेंजेस करेगा, मैं मेरा जो जो भी चेंजेस है अपना प्रोफाइल में जो रिपोजिटरी है, योर फोक्ड रिपोजिटरी विल एक्सट्रैक्ट ऑल दोस थिंग्स एंड इट विल यू नो update your repository with my repository as well. So it becomes very easy to keep yourself updated with everything. Okay.
अंडरस्टूड।
All right, अभी देखो, now I'm going to give you guys a small overview on how you guys can see my screen, right? Yep. Okay. So how we use coding structures in companies. Okay. So abhi to you guys have seen कि inside a lib I have only created the main.dart file which you guys can see over here, and I have created 3 different dart files and a function and a folder called function where I've kept the function. What we usually do in companies is we make totally a proper architectured coding structure, files folder structure, so that multiple developers can work on a single project. It's a very important thing that you guys have to follow when you're in a company, working for a company, when you're working for an internship and things like that, because you won't be working alone. जब हम alone काम करते हैं, तब we can structure everything in the way we are comfortable with. All right. अभी ये तो दूसरों के साथ नहीं होगा, राइट? डिफरेंट पीपल हैव डिफरेंट कोडिंग स्टाइल्स, सो इसलिए द कंपनी ट्राइज टू फॉलो अ सिंगल कोडिंग a single folder structure which is actually taught to all the developers when they're in their probation period और जब उनका training चल रहा है, so that later on they follow the same structure, and the other developers, they are also they also would not find it difficult to find key codes कहाँ है नहीं and things like that. I'm sorry, I think मेरा ये चला गया बंद हो गया फिर से. Let me switch it on once again. Yep, you guys can see my screen, right? Sushana, can you, is my
Yes.
screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what we do is uh, we create different folders. Like there is a folder called view, inside which we keep all the, front end logic, you would say, the front end logic and the front end UI components and things like that inside there. Inside screens, we have all the different screens where we write the UI based code and things like that. You can see that we have used different widgets over here, like SVG picture. Then there is modal bottom sheet, and lots of things over here. You can see. All right. You can see padding, single child scroll view, things like that. All of these are UI components. Also on, we make another file which we which you have heard and on other places. It is known as view model. Okay. So what view model does is it actually connects the backend logic to the front end part. So दोनों backend और front end के बीच में there always has to be a middleware. Okay, that middleware is what we are following in our architecture is, we call it as view model, because the architecture that we are following in our company is MVVM. Okay, it's a very popular architecture that you guys are going to find in app development. वेब डेवलपमेंट में ज्यादातर MVC आर्किटेक्चर फॉलो होता है, which is known as model view component. And the most popular architecture used in app development is MVVM, which जिसका full form है model view model. Okay, so all the UI elements are kept inside the view part. The middleware, the connection part is kept inside the view model part, and the backend का part जिधर से आ रहा है, that thing also we have to structurize inside a file. That thing we keep in a folder called data, and inside there we create models. Models में आता है क्या, API से जो JSON फाइल्स मिलता है वो कैसे स्ट्रक्चराइज होंगे, उसके अंदर क्या क्या डेटा होगा नहीं होगा, things like that. We put all these things inside models. So there we go. This is the most popular architecture that we follow, MVVM, which you guys might also come across in different app development internships and jobs and things like that. All right.
यही
So
चीज़
done with,
आर्किटेक्चर है जो आप अभी दिखा रहे हैं, ये सारे फाइल्स आर्किटेक्चर में आते हैं, या फिर आर्किटेक्चर हुआ क्या?
yep, the way files are structured, that we know as architecture. ओके, जैसे कि तुम देख पा रहे हो एवरीथिंग. अगर मैं कुछ ढूंढना चाहता हूँ, आई नो एग्जैक्टली कि कहाँ जाना है, कहाँ जाके फाइल देखना पड़ेगा. बिकॉज to be very honest, this project that I've opened over here right now, it's an ongoing project in our company. Okay, it's a social media project, and I think the total lines of code inside it, I guess, might have crossed 50 lakhs or something like that. Okay, ये जो folder अभी खुला हुआ है तुम्हारे सामने, सब में इतना सारा like lines है अभी, like more than 50 lakhs. Okay, that's why to keep a track of where the things are, like मुझे अभी ढूंढना है कि एक यूजर प्रोफाइल का चीज कहाँ है नहीं है, ठीक है. सो मुझे अभी पता है कि उसका यूजर का, अगर मैं मॉडल ढूंढना चाहता हूँ, कहाँ जाना है, मुझे डेटा के अंदर जाना है, डेटा के अंदर यूजर में जाना है, इधर मुझे मॉडल मिल गया, इधर में सब फाइल्स है related to the user model. Now I want to have a look at uh, the front end UI part of the user. Okay, so I know how the architecture works. So I would have to go inside the view. उसके अंदर मुझे screens के अंदर जाना है. उसके अंदर में I want to have a look at the user. The user might be inside the profile. Profile में जाऊंगा, मिल गया मुझे user profile. So this architecture actually helps a lot when it comes to contributing in a single code base among lots of developers. So this whole structure, कि folders कैसे सजाना है, files कैसे बनाना है, and things like that. This thing is what we developers call as architecture. Okay. So yeah, I am covered with the architecture part as well. Now I'm coming to the last teaching part of this session, which is how to integrate APIs in your Flutter app. Okay. Now after integrate, like first I would like to say what APIs are. Then I would show you a small example, small Flutter example on how you can integrate APIs. And then I would talk on how, like, why APIs are important in the world. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to make a small uh, let's not make you know a very complicated UI. We are just going to make a very small thing over here. So let's say I want to make a weather app. ठीक है. A weather app का मुझे एक API चाहिए. Now what are APIs? ठीक है. So you guys would think कि API एक बहुत complicated thing है. No, it is not. API is basically a very small code which takes data from a database and it gives the data to different organizations, services, and things like that. And by services, I mean websites and applications. So let's say make news API use कर रहा हूँ. All right. So database में I want to search with a query called murder. ठीक है. I looked up for murder. अभी API क्या करेगा? मैं API को बोला कि मुझे murder लेके डेटा दो. So I sent the API a certain query. Okay. So the API is now what it's going to do is that small little bit of code. The API का जो code है वो क्या करेगा उसके साथ एक डेटाबेस लिंक रहेगा which is the main database जो the sub news है. All right. So what will happen is it will fetch all the murder related news from there, from the database. And then what it is going to do, it is going to send me all the data that it got from the database to my application so that I can properly show everything in a user friendly manner so that users don't give me bad reviews for my application. All right. So let's start with something called weather API. Okay. छोटा रखूंगा बहुत precise रखूंगा. I won't go into the UI part for this application. Okay. I will just show you how we use APIs inside Flutter application. So for this, first मैं तुम लोग को दिखा देता हूँ कि API काम कैसा करता है. ठीक है. So this is a very popular website called Open Weather Map जिधर से you can get free weather का एक API मिलेगा. Okay, so let me just quickly log in. So what you guys have to do is you guys will have to follow the same steps. Okay, you guys will have to make an API key. All right, then अब API key कैसा होता है? Whenever a user uses an API, उस यूजर के लिए एक पासवर्ड जैसा एक चीज बना देता है एपीआई. दैट थिंग इज नोन एज अ की. ठीक है. सो दैट उस यूजर ने क्या क्या चीजें सर्च किया है, what kind of outputs that user has taken out from the API, that does not get exposed to other people. That's why there is a certain level of security made with the API. That security is what we know as tokens or API keys. Okay. So I have, let's say, I want to make a tutorial key. Okay. I will name it tutorial key and I would generate a new key. So my key is generated over here. Well, let's keep it in the site for the time being. Okay, let's open the main website once again. Let's go into, okay, allow. Let's go into the API and let's go into the current weather data. Okay, I want to go into the API doc. And you can see that there is a link over here. Okay, so let's not use that. I actually want to use a different kind of link. I don't worry, I'll show you guys on like which link to use for this. I would just have
Why
to
didn't you use the
find.
first one?
वो थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है बिकॉज इसमें क्या होता है जिस जगह का तुम्हें वेदर चाहिए उसका लैटिट्यूड एंड लॉन्गिट्यूड देना पड़ेगा. दैट्स इट. You can see that inside the query, you can see that we have to input the longitude of the place and the latitude of the place. What I'm trying to find is I want to find एन एपीआई जिधर सिर्फ सिटी का नाम देने से ही मुझे उस सिटी का ये मिल जाए. Okay, so they have a different version of it. I'll just have to find it over here. So,
अच्छा,
yep,
तो एक बात
got it
बताइए, अगर
ready.
लैटिट्यूड और लॉन्गिट्यूड की ज़रूरत है, तो फिर हमें एक और एपीआई की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी जो कि फेच करेगा लैटिट्यूड, लॉन्गिट्यूड?
Actually, not actually, because inside application, inside mobile devices, you
हुँ,
have you already have a GPS chip inside it. इसलिए तुम like if you use any kind of map या फिर नया मैप का अगर कोई एप्लीकेशन यूज करोगे, the application would ask your permission to get your location. Okay.
हुँ,
So inbuilt रहता है. There are different things, like different devices inside your app, which will help you to get your latitude, your precise latitude and longitude. वही चीज actually Google Maps use करते हैं to get your precise location on the map.
ओके, ओके।
Okay. So what I'm going to do is now an API link is going to look like this. Okay, guys. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. Okay. अब तुम्हें ये देख के पता चल जाएगा कि तुम्हें अपना API की कहाँ लगाना है. Alright. So I'm going to copy my API key. I'm going to put it over here. I've pasted it. And you can see that इधर में मुझे अपना city name लिखना है. So now I'm going to input Kolkata over here. As soon as I'm going to press enter, you're going to see, okay, that is an invalid key. My bad. Let's use another key which I have used earlier. Yep. Okay. So this key is working. So अभी मैं ये जो key दिया and जो location दिया, you can see that I have actually got real-time data. This data is not fake. This is not mock data, guys. This is real-time data, and it is actually coming from satellites. Satellites से data जा रहा है database में, and that database is putting all the data inside the API, and this API is giving me data. Everything just happened within a fraction of a second. Okay, so अभी मुझे मिल गया मेरा actual latitude longitude मिल गया है, which is कोलकाता का latitude longitude. अभी इधर का टेम्परेचर क्या है देखो, ये फ़ारेनहाइट में आई गेस दिखा रहा है. ओके, दैट्स व्हाई इट्स लाइक दिस. I think there is a different option to change that as well. So I would like to change the unit to metric. Okay, so I would like to change the units to metric. And what I would have to do is, after the API key, I would just have to, inside the URL, I would just put an and. उसके बाद मैं unit दे दूंगा. Is it unit or units? It's units. I'm going to put units, and उसके बाद एक equal to डाल के I'm going to put metrics. As soon as I press enter once again, I'm going to get the data once again, and now you can see that all the data over here is coming in metrics unit. अभी Fahrenheit में दिखा रहा था, अभी Celsius में दिखा दिया. Okay. Now it has given me the description of the weather, like visibility अभी कितना है. This visibility is in meters for your information. Wind का speed कितना है किलोमीटर पर आवर में, कौन सा डिग्री में wind जा रहा है, like clouds का data, then you'll get all these kinds of data. It has given me my time zone as well. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use this particular like API inside an app as well. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to make another app. All right. So let's go into desktop. I'll create a small Flutter app over here called weather app. Okay. My bad. You cannot put hyphens in the app application names. Command name weather. Oh, sorry. I forgot to put the create word between them. Okay. So, yep, there is a weather app. Now let's go into it. Okay. So let's make the whole thing first properly. एक basic सा UI बनाएंगे हम. फिर हम use करेंगे something, a thing which we know as packages inside Flutter. Okay. What we are going to do is we're going to code everything inside the main function only. Okay. Uh, let's remove the boilerplate code which Flutter actually gives us. All right, let's make a stateful widget over here. Let's name the stateful widget as homepage. All right, we are going to call that homepage inside the home of the material app. And then we are going to use a scaffold over here, just like the one we used on the calculator app. Okay. So now inside the scaffold, अभी पहले structure बना लेते हैं. ठीक है. I would not make any good UI in this, okay? Because UI अगर अभी बनाने गया, it would become very time consuming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a column. Just a moment. अब column के अंदर what I will do is I will use a text editing controller. Not a text editing controller, a text field over there. After the text field, I would like to add a small amount of padding, so I will give a small height box, a size box of height 10. After that, I want, let's say, a button. Okay, let's give it a material button. All right, ये button press. I guess you guys would remember that I made similar calculator buttons like this, like with material button. अभी size box में अंदर डाल देता हूँ so that I can give proper height to that material button. Okay, let's give it a width of 100 pixels and a height of 45 pixels. Now let's इसका on press जो function है, we'll do that later on. इसके अंदर हम API call करेंगे. Now inside the material button, I want the color of it to be, let's say, black. And inside it, I want a text child. जिसमें मैं लिखूंगा get या फिर fetch. Okay, fetch data. Okay, let's give the text color as white. White would be good enough. All right, and इसके बाद finally मुझे एक और text चाहिए with a small amount of height. तो पहले मैं height दे देता हूँ and इधर मैं एक text दे दूंगा temperature. Okay, so what I'm going to do is एकदम last में जो temp मिलेगा उधर I'm going to output the temperature of the place. Okay, अभी क्या करूँगा मैं column के अंदर I will put everything in center and I will put the column inside. I will put some padding, some horizontal padding, some symmetric padding to the column. Okay, so let's now start the application. One second, I started it on the wrong device. Yep. Okay, so we have created our small application. So for the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing over here and I'm going to start sharing on my tab for the time being. All right, so let me share my screen over here. I'll give you a small overview on how we are going to implement the API inside the app. Okay, is my tab visible? Let me check as well. Yep, it is. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so what we are going to do is first we have our API. Okay, so now what we are going to use is something called Flutter packages. Okay, so there are lots of things inside Flutter which is not actually directly given to you in the boilerplate code or by the normal Flutter Flutter related things that are present inside your computer. So therefore, there are lots and lots of libraries out there which will help you to make complex applications. For those complicated applications, we use community-made codes and other things like that, which we know as Flutter packages. We get Flutter packages from a website called pub.dev. Okay. So from here, we are going to use a package called HTTP. What this is going to do is it's going to help us. HTTP helps us use all kinds of API methods. You will learn more about API methods later on. In like, if you guys know about it, that's a huge plus point. So these are some of the API methods that we can use with HTTP. Today, what we are going to use is we are only going to use the GET API. So the API that you guys have seen, or like me using to get the weather data for Kolkata, it is actually a GET API. Okay, so GET API क्या करता है? We just put some things in the URL. We might even give it some data in a body, but जब हम body use करते हैं, then we use the method post for that. But in get method, everything it just happens with the parameter of the URL that you are sending. All right, that is the basic concept of get API. So now what we are going to do is we have our app. Inside our app, uh, we have the HTTP package. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to use the weather app का API, which the link which I just showed you, and बहुत दूर कहीं इस वर्ल्ड में उन लोगों का डेटाबेस है जिधर सैटेलाइट से डेटा आ रहा है. Okay. So our app with the help of HTTP is going to ask the weather app API a query देगा. What is that query? That query is going to be the city name. Okay, city name देगा. वो weather app API वो city name लेगा. It's going to send that particular query to the database. Database is going to give me back the API, the data, and after that, this weather app API is going to send me a JSON file. जिस JSON file के अंदर क्या होगा? The weather data. For what? For the city name. इधर जो city name मैंने दिया था, for the city name. Okay. So this is how simple it is. Like API इतना ही simple है कि it's very easy once you understand the basic concepts of API. It's going to be really easy for you guys to implement it. So I'm going to now stop my broadcasting in the tab, and yeah, just a sec. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen in my laptop once again. Okay. Yep. Okay. So now what we are going to do is, you can see that our app is up and running. The UI is horrible. Okay. We did not use any kind of design, any kind of UI for it. So that's why it's looking really horrible. But don't worry. We're going to, see how we can actually use API over here as like very easily. So the first thing which we are going to do is, we inside let me just make this full screen. Yeah, inside here you have seen that we are getting the temperature of the place. Okay, and we also have the name. So what we want is, inside the application, we want this particular part जहाँ temp लिखा है, we want the city name over there, colon देखे. What we want is the temperature with Celsius over there. All right. So let's say the things that we want to actually output over there. Let us name that particular variable as output only. Okay, let's just make it really easy. Let's put an initial value inside there. Now inside this temp wala text, if I put a dollar deke output, then it's going to put everything, all the changes that we have over there. Okay. The output is over here. If we hot restart the app, you can see 50 aa gaya hai. So anyway, we are going to keep it initially we can keep it as no city given. Okay. So now if we hot restart the app, this comes over here. Now let me just do one thing really quick. Let's just remove the banner at the top right. It bugs me quite a lot. Yes, okay. Now it's looking a little bit clean. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, in the last app, I discussed how a text editing controller works, right? How it helps you to extract a text from a text field. Now, this is a text field. We can input anything over here. Okay. So similarly, I'm going to use a text editing controller again over here. This is going to be the city name controller. Okay. Let's initialize it with an empty text editing controller. And what we're going to do is the text editing field, the text field which we have made, we're going to bind the city name controller with that text field. Okay. Now the main part comes. Okay. Where are we going to get the HTTP package from? We are going to go to pub.dev, the website which I showed you. This website is like similarly जैसे web development like React के लिए या Node के लिए there is npm.js where you can get all the different packages. Similar for Flutter, there is pubdev. All the packages you can get over here. So we are going to look for HTTP. We have found the package. So if you want to install a package, you have to go into the installing tab. Inside there, you can see that there is a thing called dependencies there, where there is the version also mentioned over there. You have to copy it. Then you have to go to the pubspec.yaml, which is basically the package controller of your whole Flutter application. Inside there, you can see that एक package already by default added रहता है, which is called Cupertino icons. Below that, I'm going to add the HTTP and I'm going to save the file. Just like that, HTTP package is added in my project. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the API which I showed you guys over there right now. I'm going to implement. This particular part might get a little bit complicated. I mean, I'm totally open to questions. Okay. So HTTP से जो भी JSON वाला डेटा आता है, जो डेटा we saw over here, this data जब हम coding language में जाते हैं, we call it something called response. Okay. Response. So 1 second. So let me first do a thing, that is HTTP. Okay, it is giving me some issues with the HTTP. I guess I have installed an incorrect version. Let me use the 1.1.0 version for this. 1.1.0. Now if I save it, hopefully there won't be any errors. Let's see. Yep, no errors so far. So I guess we are good to go. Okay, so let me first show you how we import these packages in our Flutter application. So first we write the import, then we write the HTTP thing and it just comes up like that. I have imported the HTTP package. I want to use certain components from the HTTP package. First thing is I'm going to use a new data type over here, which is called a response. Okay, response is not actually a data type, it's actually a class. Okay, so I'm using the object of the class, object of a response. I'm creating an object of response. So I'm going to name the variable as normal response. Inside there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the get method. Okay, inside the get method, now whenever you use APIs, you have to put a keyword called async in front of the curly braces and an await in front of whatever API function you're using. This thing, async and await, this is a very some people might take it a little bit complicated. Some people might think that it is a very easy concept. But what async await does is basically tells the code कि ये function अभी async कर दो. Async का मतलब क्या है? Asynchronous कर दो. एंड जिस जिस कोड के लाइन के सामने अवेट लिखा रहेगा, कोड बोलेगा कि वेट, inside this function you have to wait until and unless this line gets executed. After this line gets executed, you will be able to compile the other lines. That's why you'll get to understand why I'm using async and await over here. This is a little bit complicated. I'm getting to a little bit more complicated part of Flutter. But once you guys start to learn a lot more about Flutter, this thing will be really easy for you guys. Now, इस गेट के अंदर आई एम गोइंग टू राइट URI डॉट पार्स. इसके अंदर मुझे ये वाला URL देना. ओके, इधर मैं जो URL लिया था along with the API key, mind it guys. Inside the URL I'm going to put my URL. अभी प्रॉपर्ली देखो, टेक्स्ट फील्ड के अंदर जो सिटी नेम कंट्रोलर रहेगा, आई वांट दैट सिटी नेम का डेटा ही मुझे फेच करना है. तो मैं क्या करूंगा, जिधर कोलकाता लिखा था, I'm going to put a dollar and I'm going to put curly braces in it, and inside that I am going to put whatever text I am able to extract from city name controller. Okay, now I've put my URI over here and we are pretty much done. Yep, not gonna lie. Now what we have to do is response से जो भी आ रहा है डेटा, जो JSON से डेटा आ रहा है, we have to decode it into a data type called map. Okay, now map is a data type which you guys might know as dictionaries in Python or hash maps in Java. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to use map over here, where I'm going to call a variable called data. Okay, so data देने के बाद मुझे क्या करना है, जो भी डेटा मुझे रेस्पॉन्स से मिला है, रेस्पॉन्स का बॉडी से मिला है, I have to JSON decode it. So this particular part might get a little bit complicated for you guys. Do not worry about it. I'll add a small tutorial about HTTP and how APIs work and things like that. After seeing that tutorial, things might get easier for you guys. Now, after decoding the JSON data, let's say for the time being, I just want to print out what I'm getting. Okay, so that it is also clear for you guys कि क्या आ रहा है, ये like button press करने के बाद हो क्या रहा है. Okay, so I am going to go into my debug console, and also another fundamental thing. इधर मैंने await दिया है, तो इस function के अंदर until and unless this response line gets executed, जब भी इंटरनेट से जितना देर तक मेरे पास डेटा नहीं आता, तब तक these lines won't get executed. That is the basic fundamental logic between async and await, so that the code can wait for some other thing to get executed first, then the later on the things later on can get executed. Okay, so I'm pretty much up for it. Now if I type Mumbai over here, if I type Mumbai over here, and if I press and fetch data, there is some kind of audio coming. Hello, Suchana, can you hear me?
हाँ जी भैया.
अच्छा अच्छा.
I thought मेरा ऑडियो चला गया. Anyway, let's get back. Yep. So अभी मैंने वो टाइप करके सर्च किया, and if you guys look close enough, तुम देख पाओगे इधर मुझे जो डेटा मिला था, ये डेटा मुझे इधर भी मिल गया है. But now if you look close enough, the city which I have looked for is Mumbai. You can see that the temperature over there is right now 27 degrees. So I'm actually getting Mumbai ka real-time weather data. It's pretty cool for initial applications. Like API ka applications tum bana ke, if you add those projects to your let's say CV, then I am damn sure you're going to get an internship in Internshala, or maybe some entry level internships in LinkedIn as well. So try to put a lot more effort into understanding what APIs do and things like that. Okay. So अभी मेरे को तो डेटा मिल जा रहा है. अभी मुझे क्या करना है, नीचे ये जो टेक्स्ट है, I have to I want to set the data over there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have this output over here. So I want to change the state of that particular thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the state of the output as, फर्स्ट में मुझे क्या देना है, फर्स्ट में मुझे देना है, अगर इस पूरा मैप के अंदर हम देखेंगे, पूरा मैप के अंदर देयर इज अ की कॉल्ड नेम, और उस की का वैल्यू है कोलकाता, विच इज बेसिकली द सिटी नेम. सो व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू इज, मैं ये जेसन वाला जो डेटा मुझे मिला मैं वो लूंगा. इनसाइड दैट वी हैव अ की कॉल्ड नेम, राइट. लेट्स टेस्ट इट. ओके, मुंबई दे दिया, फेच डेटा किया, देखो मुंबई आ गया. ओके, क्या हुआ एक्चुअली, ये जो फुल मैप है, इस मैप का वो पहले ढूंढा कि नेम वाला, नेम से क्या कौन सा की मैच कर रहा है, फिर वो वाला मिल गया, फिर उस की का जो वैल्यू है वो मैं आउटपुट करवा दिया. लाइक उसके अंदर आई जस्ट पुट द वैल्यू इनसाइड दैट पर्टिकुलर वेरिएबल, बट आई just do not want that particular thing only. So Kolkata, then I would like to format the string as temperature, then I would say equal to, then I would, what I would put over here is, देखो डेटा के अंदर एक और मैप है which is known as main. मेन के अंदर देयर इज अनदर थिंग कॉल्ड टेम्प, जिसमें मुझे एक्चुअल टेम्परेचर मिल रहा है. सो व्हाट आई वुड डू इज आई वुड पुट डेटा, डेटा के अंदर आई हैव टू फाइंड मेन फर्स्ट, मेन के अंदर आई हैव टू फाइंड टेम्प. ओके, now the main magic happens. Now if I fetch the data once again, you can see Mumbai temperature, I've got it. Now let's make it a little bit cool looking. Okay, cool looking as in I just want to put degrees at the end of it. Okay, now I would look for the degree symbol, I would copy it from the internet, I would put it over here, and then I would put a capital C. Okay, now let's look for some other place. Let's go for Chennai. Let's fetch the data over there. There it is. You got the temperature of Chennai. Now let's look for London. Okay, let's fetch the data for it. There you go, London. And that's it, guys. Like, this is how simple it is to use data from the internet through APIs. Now, don't worry, I'm going to add this in a GitHub repository so that you guys can access it easily. Okay, so I guess we have 20 more minutes in our hands. So let's make this thing a little bit more interactive. So I have actually shown you guys everything that I have in my knowledge right now so that you guys can actually start your Flutter journey. So do you guys have any questions? Shoot at me. Then I'm going to talk a little bit on why APIs are important and things like that. If you guys have question on anything that I made right now.
भैया
हाँ बोलो, just 1 second, मेरा हेडफोन का I guess डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया. हाँ हाँ, yep.
हाँ जी भैया, अभी तो हमने एंड्रॉयड ऐप बना लिया होगा शायद, मोबाइल ऐप अभी फ्लटर से। क्या आप वेब वर्जन भी दिखा सकते हैं कि किस तरह का होता है फ्लटर से बना हुआ वेब, या जनरल वेब की तरह ही होता है वो?
Hi, just could you give me 1 second? I cannot hear anything.
हेलो, अब कुछ बोलो.
हाँ जी भैया, अभी तो हमने मोबाइल ऐप वर्जन देख लिया, क्या आप वेब वर्जन भी दिखा सकते हैं फ्लटर का?
फ्लटर का? हाँ, क्यों नहीं. मैं भी दिखा देता हूँ तुम्हें. ओके, माय स्क्रीन इज विजिबल, राइट?
हाँ जी
अभी मैं ये बंद किया मोबाइल का. व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इज, 1 सेकेंड, ये बंद हो जाने दो. ओके, नाउ व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इज, मैं इधर जाके डिवाइसेस में जाके सिलेक्ट कर लूंगा क्रोम. ओके, मुझे और कुछ चेंज नहीं करना है. आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू रन इट. इट इज दैट सिंपल. ठीक है, अभी मैं एंड्रॉइड का जो ही ऐप चलाया, सेम ऐप अगर मैं अभी iOS में भी चला के दिखा, मतलब अगर प्रेस करूंगा तो iOS में भी चल जाएगा, ऑन हो जाएगा. एंड इट इज लाइक seriously this similar, like this simple, sorry, not similar, so like simple to
भैया ये मतलब
Because
ऐसा होता है कि हम जब वेब डेव करते हैं तो तब क्या होता है एक इंस्पेक्ट एलिमेंट टाइप का होता है वो इसी तरह का होता है क्या ये भी मतलब इंस्पेक्ट में जैसे बड़ा हो जाता है तो यह भी बड़ा छोटा हो रहा है मतलब
हाँ यस, ये
अच्छा
देखो, ये
हाँ जी
पूरा रेस्पॉन्सिव बना देता है एक्चुअली.
हाँ जी
So it is that easy. Okay. Now the thing is, it's a very strange thing that Flutter does is, ये सब जगह Flutter is. You might think that it is very strange that how Flutter is able to run everything, everywhere on different platforms इतना easily कैसे करके run करते हैं. Now the thing is, what Flutter does is, in HTML, there is a component called canvas, जिसके ऊपर you can draw certain shapes and things like that. So what happens in a canvas is you can draw shapes and different things. So what Flutter does is, वो similar thing use करता है. It uses a canvas. It renders all the buttons and widget elements on there, and it implements all the logic in that canvas as well, and वैसे करके run कर देता है. That's why एक Flutter app एंड्रॉयड में जैसा स्मूथ चलता है, वेब में भी वैसा स्मूथ चलेगा, iOS में भी वैसा ही स्मूथ चलेगा.
भैया
Okay.
ये HTML CSS में कन्वर्ट नहीं करता है क्या मतलब फ्लटर से
No, it doesn't. It
और
is different. It is different. थोड़ा सा different है. Canvas, तुम like you have done HTML. Do you have an idea about Canvas? Like कैसे काम करता है वो? वो
नहीं भैया मैं
Canvas में
रिएक्ट थोड़ा आइडिया है रिएक्ट का
React का तो हाँ ठीक है. React में भी तो ultimately HTML ही तो use होता है ना. So you read about
Yes,
Canvas.
almost same.
Sorry, didn't get you.
Canvas and Figma, they do almost the similar works, right?
You you are getting. I mean, the word is same, but they are totally different things. Figma का
Mm.
canvas is where you make UI on, drag and drop करके. HTML
Yeah,
का
yeah, yeah,
canvas
yeah.
is you code on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that was the main thing, like why it works. So Suchana, you there?
Yes.
I guess I'm going to end the session early today. So guys, if you have any other question, you guys can shoot at me.
भैया अभी अगर मुझे एक फ्लटर का प्रोजेक्ट है जिसको मुझे
Mm-hmm.
रेज्यूमे प्रोजेक्ट की तरह सबमिट करना है और मैं चाहता हूँ
Mm-hmm.
कि ओनली मोबाइल वर्जन में वहाँ पे करूँ तो मैं क्या वेब या ये सब डिलीट करके रेज्यूमे की तरह सबमिट कर दूँ या पूरा मतलब वेब या लिनक्स वर्जन भी रहने दूँ मतलब कोड पे
हाँ रहने दो, उसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है. इट्स नॉट इंक्रीजिंग द फाइल साइज बाय दैट मच अमाउंट. वोंट बी दैट, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा उसमें.
जी भैया और मैं एक प्रोजेक्ट बनाने के बारे में सोच रहा था जिसमें मतलब हम जब कोड करें एडिटर में तो क्या होता है कि
हम्म.
एरर्स जो होता है वो लैंग्वेज थोड़ी मतलब समझ नहीं आती को मतलब ये बिगिनर्स को तो मैं चाहता था कि मैं एक नेटिव लैंग्वेज में जो एरर है वो एआई से कंपाइल कर मतलब समझ के उसको नेटिव में कन्वर्ट कर दूं इस तरह का बनाना चाहता था क्या आप मुझे सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं कि किस तरह से बनाऊं मैं इस चीज को
ये तुम जो बोल रहे हो, इट इज अ वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड प्रोजेक्ट. यू विल हैव टू लाइक ड्रॉ आउट एवरीथिंग, एंड उसके बाद ऐसा करना पड़ेगा. एकदम इनिशियली इतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मत जाओ. एआई फेआई सब, मतलब एआई, इट्स अमेजिंग दैट यू आर गोइंग इनटू एआई. स्टार्ट बाय मेकिंग स्मॉल प्रोजेक्ट्स फर्स्ट, फिर उससे एक्सपीरियंस गेन करो, देन ट्राई टू मेक दैट थिंग. आई एम अ पर्सन हु इज नॉट इनटू एआई बिकॉज आई यूज एआई अ लॉट इन माय डे टू डे लाइफ. बट एआई एमएल, आई फाइंड इट, देखो जब एआई एमएल का मॉडल्स व्हेन दे वर्क प्रॉपर्ली, इट्स एन अमेजिंग फीलिंग. बट ट्रेनिंग अ मॉडल, इट इज अ वेरी हेक्टिक जॉब, वेरी हेक्टिक एंड अ वेरी मोनोटोनस जॉब. ठीक है, इसलिए मैं एआई एमएल स्टार्ट किया था व्हेन आई वाज इन सेकंड ईयर. आई स्टार्टेड स्टडीइंग अबाउट इट, but I left it after 1 year. Don't get demotivated by it. Like, it's just my perspective on AIML. But AIML is an amazing career choice. You can go ahead with it.
हाँ जी भैया और इसके अलावा मैं एक मतलब नया लैपटॉप भी खरीदने के बारे में सोच रहा था कोडिंग के लिए मेरा पुराना लैपटॉप थोड़ा सा लगी है तो मैं सोच रहा था कि मैं 60 या 65 का नॉर्मल विंडोज ले लूँ या 80 में जाके मैकबुक जो एयर है वो नॉर्मल वर्जन वो
MacBook,
ले लूँ
always MacBook. कोडिंग के लिए MacBook is the best. मेरा, मैं अभी जिस MacBook में काम कर रहा हूँ, ये मेरा पर्सनल वाला मैकबुक है, ठीक है। ये मेरा पर्सनल मैकबुक है M2 एयर, ठीक है। इसमें मैं साइमल्टेनियसली 3 एमुलेटर एक साथ चलाता हूँ, फिर भी कुछ लैग नहीं खाता। लाइक इट इज सो पावरफुल। एंड मेरा ऑफिस का जो मैकबुक है दैट इज तो बहुत ही पावरफुल है, दैट इज M3 Pro। उसमें कभी प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं आया, इसमें भी नहीं आया। बट एनीवे कोडिंग करने के लिए, लाइक फॉर एम्यूलेटर या फिर क्यूबरनेटिस या फिर डेवऑप्स करना चाहते हो या कुछ भी, ऑलवेज गो फॉर मैकबुक। और अगर तुम विंडोज लैपटॉप लेना चाहते हो तो विंडोज लैपटॉप लेके विंडोज में कोडिंग मत करो। आई वुड rather सजेस्ट इंस्टॉल लिनक्स इन देयर। तो टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, विंडोज इज एक्चुअली नॉट मेड फॉर कोडिंग। कोडिंग के लिए इट्स आइदर अ यूनिक्स और अ लिनक्स सिस्टम। लिनक्स सिस्टम में तो देयर इज उबुंटू एंड यूनिक्स में देयर इज मैकओएस। These two things, ये दोनों ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम आर प्रॉपर्ली डिजाइंड टू एक्चुअली कोड इन देम।
हाँ जी। भैया
गॉट
अगर
इट ब्रो?
मैकओएस को हम मतलब जो इकोसिस्टम होता है विंडोज एंड्रॉइड सॉरी आईओएस का, तो उस इकोसिस्टम को हम अगर ब्रेक करके चले, मतलब मोबाइल तो मेरा एंड्रॉइड ही रहेगा, बाकी सब मेरे मतलब उस तरह के हो गए, तो कुछ
प्रॉब्लम
फर्क
नहीं है,
पड़ेगा क्या?
नहीं कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं होगा।
हाँ जी।
Okay. Also, Trisha, you
Yeah,
have you solved that problem?
no,
Okay,
it's
okay.
not solved.
Let's talk on a different beat after this. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. Cool. 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 So, anyone else has any other questions? I guess not. Anyway,
Can
Suchana.
I just ask
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. Sure. 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 Go ahead, Kushi.
I wanted to ask, like, how do you use Notion?
Notion. हाँ, Notion का templates है मेरे पास बहुत सारा।
अच्छा अच्छा।
What you can do is you can actually go online and look for Notion templates and you'll be able to find lots and lots of them. So Notion में यूज करते हो जस्ट डे टू डे मेरा क्या क्या काम है नहीं है वो करने के लिए ना। ऑफिस में वी यूज जीरा टू ट्रैक एवरीथिंग, यू नो, कि कब कहाँ क्या हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है। लाइक व्हेन यू
So
स्टार्ट
you
वर्किंग यू
use
विल
it like a to-do?
नोशन को, हाँ हाँ, यस, आई यूज इट एज अ टू डू। I've programmed my Notion in a way कि उधर एक पोमोडोरो भी है, मैं पोमोडोरो टाइमर भी यूज करता हूँ when I code.
अच्छा, उसी
So
में
no,
सारी चीजें आपने कर दी हैं।
yep, Notion is an amazing tool. Go with it. Go ahead with it.
ओके।
भैया अगर किसी भी तरह का फ्री एपीआई चाहिए मुझे या ट्रेंड मॉडल चाहिए, तो वो मैं हर तरह का एपीआई कहाँ से मिल सकता है, मतलब एक सोर्स जहाँ से मतलब हर
रुको
तरह
मैं
का मिल
देता हूँ
जाए?
तुम्हें। I actually have a GitHub repository जिसमें सब है। No. Okay. I'm sharing a link in the chat. ये वाला GitHub repository में जाओ, इसका readme में you will find hundreds of APIs, free APIs. ठीक है?
थैंक यू भैया।
No problem. Okay. So anyone else has any other questions? Internshala to work. Okay. Tip to revert. Acha, what do you mean to revert to internshala? Can you just like elaborate your question? I'm not able to get it.
Yeah, I mean getting the internship.
Okay, so internshala में actually क्या है? The thing is, देखो, it is a very unethical thing to do, but what you can, do is it is an unethical thing that many people do to get into internshala. Okay, now इसके वजह से तुम्हें बहुत सारा जगह internships ना भी मिल सके, alright, but in my opinion the best thing is to do is make 5 to 6 projects. जितना प्रोजेक्ट बनाओगे बनाओ, जल्दी बनाओ, बना के एक सीवी बना के you put it out internship. But do keep it in mind that that particular project is up and working and you have proper idea and knowledge ki how that project is working. नहीं तो it's नहीं तो नहीं मिलेगा. ज्यादातर लोग क्या करते हैं जानते हो? The thing they do is they put fake experiences over there. Like they have done internship over here, over here, over here, whereas they haven't done internships anywhere. वैसे करके people think that they have lots of experience, but तब वो क्या होता है, तब वो जाके इंटरव्यू राउंड जब आता है तब they fail over there. So वही, don't try to get internships like that. Try to build projects and वैसे करके एक सीवी बनाओ. सीवी भी वैसा मत बनाना कि बहुत झिकझक लगे देखने में. Make it as simple as possible. Go to my LinkedIn profile. मेरा जो सीवी है, I tried to follow the same template from a person who's right now working in Google. Okay. उसका भी CV का template same है. I followed that and that template has helped me out a lot to get lots and lots of offers. All right. Nabunil.
Did you use Overleaf for it?
Nah. I just saw someone's CV and I made it in Canva.
अच्छा, कैनवा सीवी है तो उससे वो होता है क्या, वो जो कुछ तो कहते हैं ना जिससे हाईलाइट को चेक करते हैं, जो ATI या
अच्छा. Yeah. So that is the resume score that you're talking about.
हाँ, तो ये लेटेक वाला रेज्यूमे शायद अच्छा होता है ना, मुझे नहीं समझ आ रहा है, कुछ लोगों का जैसे
हाँ
वो लेटेक में बनाते हैं।
एक्चुअली लेटेक्स का रेज्यूमे अगर तुम बनाओगे, it is ultimately using a certain kind of fonts in it only. So Canva maybe it's very easy to, just Canva में जाओ, go into poster, and then yeah, just look up for a similar looking font over there. Use that font to make your CV.
Do you use your picture in your resume?
No, I don't. Because देखो, लाइक अभी मेरा कंपनी में फ्लटर का 3 नया इंटर्न ज्वाइन किया है. Okay, so we were actually shortlisting those interns. Okay, I was also in the process. None of us looked at their photos. None of us. Photo देख के कुछ होगा भी नहीं. It doesn't matter how you look. We only care about the skills.
How to get hired by you finally?
करो पहले resume बनाओ, projects बनाओ, हो जाएगा. You're in second year right now, right?
Yeah.
हाँ, अभी तो बहुत टाइम है. Just wait for it.
तो अभी बस इंटर्नशाला से ट्राई करें.
Yeah. Go ahead with it.
And
रोड मैप, आप रोड मैप बोल रहे थे, रोड मैप बताइए.
Okay, so roadmap, right? So I'll tell you what roadmap I followed. Okay. So when I was in my 11th standard, I started competitive coding. ठीक है, मैं तब से start किया था because I got into a club in my school. I was in DPS Ruby Park. उधर competitive coding का एक club था, इसलिए I got into competitive coding really quick in my life. So कॉम्पिटिटिव कोडिंग मैंने स्टार्ट किया. 11-12 बहुत किया मैंने. फिर आई गॉट टू 4 स्टार इन कोड शेफ एज वेल. कोड फोर्सेस में मेरा क्या रैंक था आई डू नॉट रिमेम्बर राइट नाउ. देन उसके बाद क्लास 12 में आई स्टार्टेड विद एंड्रॉयड डेवलपमेंट अ लिटिल बिट. ओके, एंड्रॉयड में सोचा कि थोड़ा सा डेवलपमेंट करके देखता हूँ. नाउ जब मैं एंड्रॉयड डेवलपमेंट स्टार्ट किया था, आई टोल्ड यू आई फाउंड डिजाइनिंग विद XML लिटिल बिट बोरिंग. So that's why after that I started with Flutter. Okay. फिर Flutter जब start किया मैं, at that time I was not even in first year. I was looking for colleges. Actually, I was supposed to go to VIT. Okay, but COVID आ गया था इसलिए my mom said to stay in Kolkata only. That's why I got into UEM. Now, after that, when I started Flutter, it became very clear to me you have to first clear your concepts of data structures and algorithms. लोग सोचते हैं कि सीपी में जाने के लिए डीएसए करना पड़ता है, डेवलपमेंट तुम स्टार्ट कर दे सकते हो लाइक राइट अवे. इट्स नॉट ट्रू. डेवलपमेंट में भी when you use APIs, you are going to use data structures. When you optimize your code, you're going to use algorithms. That's why it is very, like, honestly speaking, the best thing is you should always start with competitive coding first. You learn about you learn about the different data structures like sets, maps. Then there are trees, binary trees, AVL trees, graphs, things like that. Then you get into algorithms like greedy algorithms, dynamic programming, sorting algorithms, things like that. Learn about time complexity, learn about space complexity, learn about how to, reduce uh, the time it takes to load all the data in your application, how you could do that. You have to cover all these first. Then, if you go into development, trust me, the apps that you're going to build are going to be seamless. They're going to be working seamless. All right. So इसलिए मैं तो ये बोल दिया. Now app development में I would say the roadmap right now is to basically first learn DSA, then get into any kind of native like native framework or any kind of cross platform framework. दोनों एक साथ मत करो. It will get very confusing. Okay, either get into a native one or get into a cross platform one. For web development, I wouldn't give much suggestions because I have not been into web development that much. But for backend development, मैं तो backend करता भी हूँ अभी. I can tell you. So backend में it's full DSA, full on DSA. ठीक है. Backend development में full on DSA लगेगा. Now the first thing is if you want to start with backend, you let's say अभी backend ज़्यादातर around the world is with Node.js only. You have to clear your concepts about Node.js, about JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. Then you have to start learning about Node.js. You need to learn about Express, like how it actually, helps your backend connect with the front end through APIs. Then you need to learn a little bit about databases. Like there are two kind of databases. One is SQL, one is NoSQL. NoSQL के अंदर में आता है MongoDB, Firebase, वो सब आता है. SQL में there is post GRESQL, then MySQL and things like that. You need to learn about them as well. After these concepts are clear, you can move on with other frameworks as well. Like uh, in my last company, I was working with Spring Boot, which is the backend development framework using Java. Okay, अब वो जावा है और ये जावा स्क्रिप्ट है. You might think that they are different. Trust me, they are not. The coding concept is totally the same, just syntax different और कुछ नहीं. And after that ऐसे करके skill बढ़ाते रहो. Try to make your own projects. Try to contribute in open source projects and things like that. And देखोगे कुछ दिन बाद गूगल का डेवलपर बन जाओगे. Yep, that's the roadblock.
Super optimistic.
You don't be pessimistic in your roadmap, man. Come on. If you be pessimistic, you cannot get anywhere. Always try to be optimistic. Okay.
भैया
बोलो रोबल.
भैया ऐसे मीट कॉल हम क्या बाद में भी आप करेंगे क्या ऐसे मीट कॉल?
क्यों अच्छा लगा?
हाँ जी भैया, अच्छा लगता है आप.
ओके अभी के लिए तो आई एम डन फॉर द टाइम बीइंग. अभी ऐसा होगा तो सूचना विल लेट यू नो. Okay. And anyway, Rubul, like connect with me on LinkedIn.
हाँ जी भैया, कनेक्ट
I'll
कर लिया
share
था
my
उसी
phone
दिन
number once
फर्स्ट क्लास
again.
में.
हाँ मुझे भी याद है, मैंने एक्सेप्ट किया था. फिर मैं फोन नंबर भी दे दिया, सेव कर लो. इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस अबाउट एनीथिंग, डू पिंग मी अप. व्हेन आई एम फ्री आई विल डेफिनेटली टेक्स्ट यू बैक. इट्स नेवर दैट मैं कभी कोई टेक्स्ट लाइक रखे, आई नेवर लीव इट ऑन रेड. आई विल ऑलवेज रिवर्ट बैक टू यू. डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट.
थैंक यू भैया.
Okay. Anyway, Suchana, I guess we're done for the day. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, man. Okay, anyway, in the future, if you want to do any other sessions, do let me know. I'll be available. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Bye then. Bye, guys. Good night.
बाय बाय भैया, गुड नाइट.
Good night.